the Great Society. In 1964, Lyndon B. Johnson won the presidency with his plan for a Great Society, a plan that would lead to some of the most important legislation in U.S. history. We're going to take a look at the origins of the Great Society, what it entailed, and the legacy to this day. During the early 1960s, more than 20% of America's population lived below the poverty line, and civil rights demonstrations were making headlines. In 1964, during a presidential campaign event at Ohio University, LBJ gave the first of two famous Great Society speeches, promising Americans a society where, quote, no man who wants to work will fail to find it, where no citizen will be barred from any door because of his birthplace or his color or his church, where peace and security is common among neighbors and possible among nations. His plan included new government programs and social welfare legislation. Throughout LBJ's presidency, Congress enacted over 200 laws and programs, including education programs and policy to provide health care, improve public housing, expand transportation, and defend civil liberties. Many of these federal programs were incredibly successful and are still around today, like Medicare, Medicaid, the Food Stamp Act, the National Endowment for the Arts, and Upward Bound, a program that helps disadvantaged high school students get into college. Congress elevated the Department of Transportation to a cabinet-level office and funded new public transportation projects. Major funding for American public schools came through the Elementary and Secondary Education Act. Head Start created funding for early childhood education and preschools for poor working families.
Head Start cares about the whole family. It reaches beyond the child to parents who may not understand their children's needs.
The Voting Rights Act banned literacy tests and other discriminatory processes that kept African Americans from the polls. You can even thank LBJ for Sesame Street. Both PBS and National Public Radio were a part of the plan for a Great Society. Another major milestone of LBJ's plan was the Civil Rights Act, which outlawed discrimination based on skin color, race, national origin, religion, or gender. It established the Equal Opportunity Clause, which we still see on job applications today. But perhaps the most important part of the Great Society plan was the war on poverty. Between 1965 and 1968, spending to help the poor doubled from $1 billion to $2 billion. More than 40 programs were also put in place, and the effect was profound. The percentage of Americans below the poverty line dropped from 20% to 12% and has remained below 15% ever since. While LBJ's programs have certainly made an impact, a lot of them didn't last. Some blame the Vietnam War for diverting necessary funding. Others look to LBJ's political choices. He didn't run for a second term in office, so he didn't see many of his policies through. The presidents to follow would dismantle some programs and expand others. While politicians still wrestle over how to deal with poverty, healthcare, education, the impact of LBJ's efforts toward a great society are undeniable. Whatever you think about the policies, there's no doubt that a great society is one where no child will go unfed or unschooled, and where peace and security is the norm in all neighborhoods.